What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back. We got another superstar from the world of MMA. This time it's Bellator president Scott Coker. We're going to talk about Bellator 276 that's taking place on Saturday, always on Showtime. And Scott, welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Are we still good? Do we still get that pass? Big Daddy Cokes. I love that nickname.
Big Daddy Cokes, man. That's what my PR team calls me. It's so funny. But yeah, listen, it's the name is stuck. Sometimes they bring it up in meetings of the staff, and everybody laughs. It's fun. It's all good.
Hey, by the way, I really wasn't going to ask you this, but I think of this thing a lot. Is a good nickname, should every fighter just have one? Like, does that help in the branding and the development of a fighter?
I'll tell you, if the name really has some, let's say, authenticity to it, or really sticks, or has a name, like, I think it's great. But if you're just making a name up just to make a name up, I don't think that works.
I'm also caught up on learn a little bit of English. If you're a foreign fighter, it goes a long way. I'm not asking you to be, a laureate or whatever, but so I want to tie this into the first question I want to ask you. We've been interviewing some of your fighters from this fight card coming up.
Okay.
First one was Phil Davis. I was like, Phil, why aren't you the main event? He was like, well, he goes, they went with the Burnell and Borix, and that's fine. I'm here to fight or whatever. He didn't take it too bad. And then I told Borix straight up, I go, hey, I was actually thinking that possibly Davis should have been. You convinced me why you should have been. And I'll tell you, I really like Borix. I mean, that guy was cool. Yeah. He spoke English. And I guess there comes a time, right, when the promotion just has to flip the switch and maybe the veteran takes a sidestep. What's that process in naming the main event?
I mean, in this situation, we're looking at, the Borix fight really was a, top contender fight that was going to fight for the title. And so this is a title eliminator fight. And so is Phil. And really, to me, it's like a double main event. But we feel like Borix is a kid that has a lot of potential, has a lot of upside. And, we really felt good about making him our main event in this contender fight for the title.
Well, I'll tell you what, that guy came across really charming. And, you study the guy, you see the highlights. That guy's a killer. I'm excited for that main event of Matt Burnell and Adam Borix. And I guess that straightened it all out for me. But, I after covering this sport for such a long time, I'm wondering, help me with this one too. Does this sport have to have more domestic superstars for a promotion to function, or can the internationals hang in there? Because history shows us with the Fedors and Cyborgs and Anderson Silvas of the world, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I personally think it's a great mix. And when you look at the stars of MMA, they're all over the planet, as they should be, because, MMA is global. Martial arts is global. You're not going to just find them here in the United States. And there's some great fighters all over the world. And like you said, you mentioned them. Look at Cyborg. Look at Fedor. Look at GSP. Well, Canada's, it's North America. But look at some of the great fighters like Habib. It's like they're all over the planet. So to me, it's like, why wouldn't they come here or fight wherever and see really how far they could take their skills and how far they could, push their martial arts journey, so to speak. And so to me, it's like, it's not a geographical sport. This is a worldwide sport and international sport.
Is there anything you tell your scout team or your matchmakers to look for when they go to the smaller shows? What's a good prospect for Bellator in your eyes?
I'll tell you, to me, it's simple. It's really a fighter that wants to bring it. That look, if he could speak well and presents himself well, has been through media training, that all helps. And what I mean by that is sometimes we're able to, latch onto an Olympic athlete in wrestling. And they've already been through, let's say, their media training, so that helps. And then, just don't bring me a fighter that is going to lay and pray. That's, to me, that's the worst thing. It's like, bring me a fighter that's going to want to bring it. And so, and I think for the most part, if you look at like our history in the fighter development or fighter identification, I think we have a really good track record and doing very well. and I think we're really good at it. We're probably the best at it, to be honest, out of all the leagues. And I'm talking about starting a fighter from ground zero, taking him to eventually become a world champion, like we do with AJ. I think that nobody does it better than us.
Now I want to go back to the Bellator 276 card again on Saturday on Showtime. You got to check it out, folks. Mads Burnell and Adams Borix in the main event. In the co-main event, you have Phil Davis versus Julius Anglickas. In this sport, have you noticed that if we talk a lot about Phil Davis, for example, you know, in the other sports, we were joking about basketball before the interview, or maybe even football, some of that stuff becomes locker room material. What have the fighters in this sport shown you if they're getting overlooked, they're not getting a lot of attention? You know, can they rise to the occasion on fight night? Is that something that transfer over in an individual sport versus a team sport?
Yeah, well, listen, when the fighter is, you know, doesn't feel appreciated or doesn't, you know, not feeling the love, believe me, they're calling. They're not just sitting home and saying nothing, and their managers are calling, and you know, it's a little bit of a juggling, you know, contest for us. Not contest, but it's a juggling. I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it's like we have to juggle the balls because, you know, like when we have a big fight, let's say, you know, with a fighter, and then of course they're going to get all the love and all the attention and all the PR, and we're driving this fight, and you know, when it's a big fight, it just sucks all the air out of, you know, the media, and then of course the other fighters sometimes they're not happy because, you know, they want to focus on their fight, this and that, you know. So I hope I'm answering your question properly, but you know, it's hard to make all the fighters happy all the time. It's just not going to happen. I mean, sometimes when it's your turn to shine, you got to turn it on and you got to bring it because you have that moment in time where you're fighting, and it's really that opportunity to elevate your brand to the next level through all the media exposure and all the interviews and all the you know, opportunities you're going to get other than just fighting in the cage, you know, in 2 weeks.
No doubt. In the featured bout of the night, we have Johnny Eblen versus John Salter. Again, it looks like a situation where someone who's already had their title run and they can always build up and compete again. In the case of Salter versus Johnny Eblen, 10-0. A lot of people are talking about this kid.
Yeah, I mean, they have, you know, my guys have a lot of high hopes for him, and you know, I'm looking forward to it because when I think about, you know, Gegard, who had a great performance against Austin about 2 weeks ago. He's a guy that's been around a long time, but he's a seasoned veteran. He's gonna be hard to beat, and you know, would like to put a fight together, either rebuild Salter to the point if he keeps winning, or you know, I think Johnny's right in there with the opportunity if he can beat Salter.
You know, Scott, and talking to Adam Borich, that's one of the things that he had brought up. You kind of echoed it. He said, I'm the future of the sport, of this division. There are a lot of those types of fighters and fights coming up on your cards. This one and the next couple ones where these fighters are being featured. How do you feel about the state of new fighters getting into the fold? We're used to some of these names, like Phil Davis, who's a great fighter, but there are a lot of these other kids that are right there and they're right on the cusp. I think Austin Vanderford was a good example. It didn't go his way, but he didn't feel like a guy that was put in the wrong spot. He seems like he could rebuild and come right back. But what do you feel about this new crop, and what stands out about them for you?
I'm excited, and I'll tell you, it's you know, when I came to Bellator, I said, okay, we got to sign some blue chip guys and guys and girls that we feel can really, you know, take this league to the next level. And I've always believed, and I've said this over and over and over, it's like, look, we have a great roster, or at that time we had a good roster, you know, maybe not that great of a roster actually. And then, you know, to build it to where we are, let's say 6 years later, now we have the best roster I've ever been associated with here at Bellator. And we did it basically just like we did Strikeforce. So, you know, we build fighters from the ground up, right? Which is the Aaron Picos of the world, right? The Fortunes of the world, AJs of the world. And then we sprinkled the free agents from the top down, which is, you know, like, let's say Ryan Bader, Phil Davis, Benson Henderson. And then, you know, and then we have our roster in the middle. So, you know, you put that together, and now when you think about our 135-pound division, I think it's the best division in the planet. I think that our 145, we have the best 145 fighter in the world. I think 185, I think the same thing with Gegard. I mean, who's going to be Gegard at 185? I think that, those are fights that, on any given day, I think Gegard could win. At 205, I think we have the best 205-pound weight class division in that weight class. And so to me, it's like to go from where we were to build it to this point. Really, it's been a lot of fun, and a lot of it is finding the next person to build up, to get the Adam Borks of the world and build them and get them their opportunity where they are today, sitting. Now he's going to fight a main event this Saturday, and then like I said, all those other names that were, with the AJs and Aaron Pico was the first. I think he was the first signing that we did back in 2014 or 2015. And then, we went after a lot of the wrestlers, Cotton and Fortune, and, we're going to continue to grow. So if there's a free agent out there, or if there's a prospect out there, and we get calls all the time, and, we're vetting through them and see if it's the right fit for us. But, I think that we're in a very good spot right now. This is an amazing roster. And I think if you look at the fights we've put on this year so far, and the fights that we have set for the next 3-4 months, it's going to be spectacular, spectacular to watch these fights unfold.
Scott, you've always been a guy that thinks way ahead. And I know pre-pandemic, I'm sure you had a lot of plans, and now the world's in turmoil a little bit again. But how close do you feel to be getting back to what your original plans were? Any ideas you had? Like, I know there's a lot of hurdles in the way right now, but do you feel like you guys are operating pretty close to 100% to where you want to be right now?
I would say probably around 80%, 85%. And one of the things that I really want to get back to is, when we go into Latin America, which I believe we will go into Latin America next year, and or we go to Japan, or we go to different territories, even Russia, right? Really, the goal at hand was to go into those territories and build a business, not just go in and leave. But when we went to London, we hired some staff there, and we have an office in the Viacom offices, which has been an amazing ownership group, because they have offices all over the world, and they support MMA, and they believe it, and they see that this has a worldwide footprint, which is kind of equal to what they do, right? It's like they have a worldwide footprint for them, and now they have Pluto TV, they have Paramount Plus, and they have all the linear channels. I mean, it's great distribution, and we're on Showtime here, but we're on different platforms. Like in Australia, I think we're on Channel 10, which is linear television that Viacom owns. We're just about to cut a deal in Latin America with multiple different channels and platforms that are owned by Viacom. So to me, we wanted to go to Brazil and throw a fight. That was one of the things that we would have done pre-pandemic. If the pandemic didn't happen, it was already in the plans. It was already in the queue. And then, we were going to go there, throw 4 to 6 fights, maybe a year, and have one big mega event per year. But all that got scrapped, and we were shut down for 3 months, like everybody else. And we had to throw fights that were in a closed environment, which was it was great that the fighters got to continue to fight, but it just felt a little bit empty and a little bit lifeless and soulless, because when you think about sports, sports needs fans. Fans are the spirit and the mouthpiece of the activity of sport. And I think the same thing goes the other way around. It's like the fans need sports because it's something that you look forward to, and you can go cheer your fighter on and be a part of it. So to me, now that we're back, and it was really the July fight of last year where we had AJ fight Pitbull in LA. That was the very first fight back where we had a live audience, and it just felt spectacular. And then I felt we got into a roll, and we went to Dublin this year. What an amazing experience. If you've never been to a fight in Dublin, it is just unbelievable. And they're passionate, they're singing, they're into it, they're cheering for their guys and girls. And we had one of the best female fights I've ever seen in my life in person, which was a fight with Sinead Kavanaugh, and the other girl just slipped my mind, but it was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Laura McCourt, and Leah McCourt.
Leah
And
McCourt.
it was unbelievable, man. The spirit and the energy of that event and that fight was just off the charts. But getting back to continue building the business in America, going international. That's a big piece of our future expansion. Is a big piece of what we consider our business plan is to go international and not just go and do a fight and leave. We want to build businesses in these territories, and that's part of the plans. That's part of the plan of Bellator moving forward into 23.
Scott, let me get one more question here before we let you go. Some news this week that Kayla Harrison has re-signed with PFL, but what we found out was that Bellator made a run at her. How disappointing was that to not be able to land the free agent who I'm sure you probably wanted to fix up against Chris Cyborg? What can you tell us about that? How close was it?
Yeah, listen, when any free agent that's out there, we're gonna make a run and have a conversation and talk to the managers and things like that. And I really feel like that's a fight that with Kayla right now, it's like I don't know who she's gonna fight over there, right? It's she's gotta fight. The girls that are the dominant girls in that weight class are Cyborg, to be the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, and then Kayla. And Kayla has, she's growing, she's doing very well, but she's got to fight somebody to really showcase that she has that ability to fight at that elite level. And that's why we made a run, because Chris Cyborg's like, look, I'll fight anybody and let's get it on. And we said, hey, that'd be a fun fight to promote. But listen, it didn't work out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Good for them. But we're going to move forward with our business with Chris. We're in the Chris Cyborg business, and we're going to continue so. And I just hope they find somebody to fight Kayla at some point.
But to be clear, she did sign your offer. It's just that PFL matched her. So obviously you did attract her in a way. It's just I guess the legal side binded it so that PFL had a chance to match. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think without going into all the legal details, I think they had a right to negotiate and a right to match, and then and that's where it got hung up. So listen, Kayla Harrison, I think she would love to be in Bellator, and we had great conversations with her. And I think that my staff and her had many conversations during this negotiation. And, like I said, you win some and you lose some. But, we're moving forward. Like I said, this is arguably, one of the greatest rosters that I've been associated with. And I think that, we're going to have a lot of great fights here in the future. And it's just sometimes in business, it doesn't work out.
And it all starts on Saturday with Bellator 276 on Showtime, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific for that main card. Of course, the prelims start at 6 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Lots of great fights, including Borix versus Burnell in the main event. And then we got Anglikas versus Davis in the co-main event. Thank you, Scott, for the time. As always, we really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great show. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, go Warriors. Go Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, you got us. You got us this year.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.